The new transfer student is the goddess of justice. I asked the classmates to pay class fees to buy uniforms together, and she said, with righteous indignation, "I hate nothing more than a crooked class monitor like you. These clothes can be custom ordered online for just 30 yuan. I paid out of my own pocket to charter buses to pick up and drop off classmates for the college entrance exam, to prevent them from being delayed by the heavy rain." She retorted, "You say it's free, but once we're on the bus, you can charge whatever you want, right? I can see you're just trying to make money off this." In the end, the students had to brave the heavy rain to get to the college entrance exam, and some of them missed it. As a result, the transfer students stepped forward to accuse me. It's all her fault for trying to collude with the bus driver to make money off the students, which caused everyone to miss the exam because they couldn't take the bus. I was beaten to death by the angry parents of my classmates, while she became an internet sensation by playing the role of a goddess of justice when I opened my eyes again. I was back on the day the transfer student first arrived. 1. Hello everyone. My name is Suga. I transferred here from the capital. I've been class monitor since I was a kid, so I have a strong sense of responsibility and solid management skills. I'm very justice-oriented and can't stand any dishonesty. It's only the last semester, so let your original class monitor continue in the role. But if there's any slacking off, I won't go easy on you. The moment the self-introduction dripping with superiority was made, everyone's expressions turned complicated. In my past life, I wasn't angry about this. Instead, I led the applause to welcome her, helped her fit into the class, and get along with everyone. But in this life, I simply leaned back lazily in my chair, making no move at all. So, this time, there was no applause to greet her, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. The homeroom teacher nodded casually. "All right, go sit in that empty seat. We'll switch seats again after the exam in 2 weeks." Her brows furrowed instantly, and she planted her hands on her hips, voicing her displeasure. "I've never sat this far back before. Who will want a seat like this? I'm definitely not sitting here." The homeroom teacher's face instantly darkened, and the classmates all held their breath. It was the first time they had ever seen someone dare to speak to the teacher like that. Our homeroom teacher is a real star in the school, boasting the highest college admission rate, delivering excellent lessons, and treating every student with great care. In my past life, I was the one who proactively helped her out of a tight spot and voluntarily switched seats with her. But now whether she lives or dies has nothing to do with me. The homeroom teacher spoke in a cold tone. "In that case, our class isn't the right fit for you. You should go to the class next door. To be fair, you wouldn't have gotten into our class either." Suddenly, the classroom erupted in jeering laughter. Our class is a top-tier class, and quite a few students got in through backdoor connections, but none of them dared to cause any trouble. They're all incredibly well behaved. She's the first one I've seen who begged her way in through connections, and still dares to act so arrogantly. Her face flushed bright red in an instant, and in the end, she obediently sat down in the empty seat. And I thought they were so righteous and tough. It's nothing special. 2. Without my support, Sagina couldn't even blend in with them, let alone get along. She instantly became an outcast, with nothing but sneers on her classmates' faces as they passed her desk, walking into class, and immediately throwing down the gauntlet, going after their most admired homeroom teacher. And the class monitor, who'd been in charge for 2.5 years, wasn't she just asking for it? She was sharp enough to instantly switch up her persona, rebranding herself as sweet and innocent. My grandparents aren't in great health, so that's why I transferred here from the capital to study. I used to hear from classmates back there that this place had poor teaching and unfriendly students, but after coming here, I realized everything they said was false. Our homeroom teacher teaches even better than my previous top-tier tutor, and you all are so easy to get along with. Not at all exclusive. You're truly wonderful." After saying that, she shared some chocolate with everyone. My parents brought this chocolate back from abroad, saying, "It's very expensive, but I find it cloyingly sweet and not tasty." As the saying goes, one who accepts favors is beholden, and one who takes bribes is compromised. Coupled with such sweet words, Many students hesitated for a moment before taking the chocolate and saying, "Thanks, I've never tried foreign chocolate before. I was raised by my grandparents since I was a child, and now they're not in good health either." "Sagina, you're so filial." "Yeah, I thought you were putting on an act. But it turns out you're just straightforward and honest." Upon hearing this, Sujin's lips curled up high, and a flicker of mockery flashed swiftly through her eyes. Fast as it was, I still caught it, fingering the counterfeit chocolate in his hand. A scornful smirk curled at the corner of his mouth. The authentic chocolate isn't even expensive, but deliberately buying counterfeit one's is clearly a sign of vanity and snobbery. "Monitor, why aren't you eating?" Seeing that I hadn't eaten, Sujin has said contemptuously, "You've never been abroad, so it's understandable that you'd be reluctant to eat imported goods. But I'm generous. If you like them, I'll give you a bit more." With that, he deliberately tossed a few pieces near my feet, expecting me to pick them up, barely trying to humiliate me. As for me, my smile grew even more radiant as I sneered. By the time I was 16, I had already traveled around the world with my mom. "The brand of your chocolate is a sub-brand under a Milan factory. Their chocolate beans rank very low, and normally this kind of chocolate wouldn't even make it to our dining table. By the way, the color of the chocolate packaging you gave everyone and the production address on it are both very suspicious." 3. Sujin's expression turned awkward. She hadn't expected to find someone with such good taste in this small high school in a second. Tear City, but she couldn't back down now, so she had to stiffen her neck and speak up. "You're making it sound so mysterious. Have you actually tried every foreign chocolate out there? The different colors and packaging are, because these are for internal members only. My parents are their VIPs, and you can't buy these anywhere else. You're supposed to be the class monitor, but you're so petty. Just because I said I wanted to be class monitor before, you're targeting me. We're both girls. No need for this catty competition. The skill of turning the tables and blaming others is truly unmatched. In my past life, I was so furious that I thought she had a screw loose. But in this life, I just let out a sneer and shot back, without holding back. Class monitor. Female rivalry. You're overthinking it. I'm not that petty. Just take a look at the production address yourself. If it were actually manufactured abroad, it would be listed as the place of origin, not the country of origin. Okay, if you insist on sticking to your story, I'll have no choice but to call the Market Supervision Bureau. They'll investigate the truth." Not yielding an inch, a flicker of panic flashed in Sujin's eyes. Just then, the class bell rang, and she quickly took the opportunity to back down gracefully. Yes, whatever you say. Class monitor. Looks like giving you chocolate was a mistake. I won't bother sending you any from now on. Her acting is excellent, conveying a sense of helplessness tinged with a hint of grievance. Many classmates believed it, and even comforted her. Whether it's real or not, thank you for the chocolate. Well, the class monitor's family is rich and used to eating good stuff. We're just ordinary people. As long as we have something to eat, that's enough. At this, Sujina shot me a smug smile. I shot back a smile, without holding back, completely unfazed by what my classmates said in my past life. I treated them with nothing but sincerity. Yet, all I got in return was being beaten to death by their parents. They just stood by watching it happen, without lifting a finger, though not the direct killer, still an indirect one. If they hadn't already spoken ill of me to their parents, how could they have beaten me to death based on just a few words from Sagina? So in this life, I choose to stand by and do nothing. That's only natural, right? For getting into the top 5 in the national chemistry competition guarantees extra points on the college entrance exam after the homeroom teacher made the announcement. The class instantly buzzed with excitement, and Suga, just like in her past life, began to morally blackmail others. Class monitor, with grades as good as yours, getting into Tsinghua or Peking University is a sure thing. Why not give a spot to a classmate who really needs it, since winning the award doesn't do you any good anyway? And you've been classmates for 3 years. Why not give a helping hand when you can? As the class monitor, my duty is to help classmates in need, and I can't stand selfish people. Then all the classmates turned their heads in unison to look at me. In my past life, I had actually planned to give up the spot, so I just nodded along with what she said, but the classmate who got my spot didn't thank me at all. Instead, she was incredibly grateful to her for speaking up, showering her with thanks, and everyone else praised her for being so righteous. I leaned back lazily in my chair, a faint smirk playing on my lips. Sue, Gina, you're really good at being generous with other people's money. I remember your family is well off, so why don't you chip in some money to help the needy students or buy us all a few more sets of exam papers? Sujean's face immediately darkened, and she pointed at my nose angrily. How can you compare that? You're deliberately twisting things around. I think you're just stingy and unwilling to give up your spot, and to think your classmates trusted and admired you so much. You're truly unworthy. If I were you, I'd definitely give it up. This is clearly stirring up trouble and sowing discord. The looks my classmates gave me became complicated. A glint of triumphant cunning flashed in Sujean's eyes. But the next second, the homeroom teacher spoke up. The class monitor already privately said they'd give up the spot, but they didn't want everyone to feel guilty, so they told me not to say anything. At the same time, he criticized her. Sujean, while your intentions are good, your approach is highly inadvisable. Just focus on your studies at school. Don't get involved in other matters, and you don't need to worry about them either. The moment these words were spoken, the class fell silent for a brief moment. Then the classmates who had just been filled with resentment also showed guilt in their eyes. And some close friends whispered softly, "The class monitor really lives up to the title, always giving us the good opportunities. If the homeroom teacher hadn't just clarified things, we would have almost misunderstood the class monitor." Have you noticed? Suga seems to always pick on the class monitor, but the monitor has such a good temper and never holds it against her. Suga's face flushed bright red in an instant, and she shot me a venomous glare. I curled my lips into a smirk. This is just the beginning. 5. The results of the chemistry competition are out. All the classmates from our class who entered the competition got wiped out. I saw it coming. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given up my spot. Then, I took the initiative to tutor them and help them focus on the key points. They were so moved that they kept calling me good squad leader and brought me breakfast and milk tea. Suga was so jealous when she saw this that she kept trying to pick a fight with me. But unfortunately, I'm so cautious now that even a mosquito would slip trying to land on me. So she simply can't find an opportunity. So, when the homeroom teacher mentioned ordering class uniforms for the graduation photo, her eyes lit up just like in my past life. She popped up the moment I picked out 3 outfits. I hate nothing more than a crooked class monitor like you. These clothes can be custom made online for just 30 yuan. You can't just take advantage of everyone's trust and act so recklessly. Anyway, I'm not wearing it, and I'm not paying either. My family's money didn't just fall from the sky. This remark was highly provocative, touching on everyone's personal interests, and soon a lively discussion broke out. Most of my classmates are on my side. They all know my family is well off. I've often treated them to milk tea and late-night snacks, spending quite a bit of money. There's no way I would embezzle such a small amount, but I just spread my hands and said, "Seriously, in that case, I'm stepping away from this. Suga, you take charge. After all, the college entrance exam is just around the corner, and I want to devote all my time to studying. As for the style or the price, I'll leave it all up to you." Hearing how agreeable I was, Suja was stunned for a moment, then immediately beamed with joy. "Those are your own words, so don't go tattling to the homeroom teacher again." I curved my lips into a smile and said earnestly, "Don't worry, I'm not that free. There are plenty of 31 outfits online, and the customer photos look incredibly polished, too." But when the clothes actually arrived, the quality was appalling. As expected, Suga's custom 30-piece set ordered online has arrived. The classmates in the class started voicing their criticisms, one after another. "Suga, is this the custom piece you claimed was better than what you find at a counter? You, that stinks. So gross. Wearing this will make you sick. Whoever wants to wear this ride can wear it, but I'm not touching it. It's worse quality than my dishcloth." 6. Sajina hadn't expected the quality to be this poor either. and said, with a grim expression, "The merchant totally tricked me. The customer photos and the product photos are nothing alike. I'll go ask the boss for a return and refund right now. But at this price, this is the best quality you can get. How about everyone just chip in an extra $100 to cover the difference? We'll settle up with any overpayment or shortfall." Hearing this, the classmates were all displeased. "What do you mean? You swore $30 was more than enough, and now that we've spent it all, you want to add more money? Look, I'm broke right now. I won't have money until the end of the month when we're on break. But we need to take the photos this month. There's simply no time. I can't believe this." The class monitor had everything perfectly arranged, but you just had to stick your nose in. Now it's a complete mess. If you can't handle the job, don't take it on. Suga immediately started shifting the blame. "How can you blame me for this? I was just trying to help you save some money back then. Who knew the boss would be so heartless? Now the market has changed, and if you guys don't chip in more, we'll all have to wear the school uniform. I really went out of my way for nothing, and all I get is your complaints. Whoever wants to do this job can do it themselves." After saying that, she rolled her eyes at me in annoyance and opened the door, thinking I was the one stirring things up behind the scenes. The other classmates all turned to look at me at once. In the past, when I bought things for the class, I never used the class funds, and whenever they got into trouble, I was always the first to help clean up the mess. So now they're thinking I can help them out, whether it's buying clothes or just giving them money. But I just shrugged, pretending not to understand. Buying or not buying, either is fine. I'll go with whatever everyone decides. But I'm broke right now, so if anyone needs to borrow money, you can go to the head tier. Just then, the homeroom teacher walked in, and overhearing my remark, asked what was going on. Sujin had tried to speak up first to distance herself, but the homeroom teacher waved her off and directly asked me. I recounted the matter truthfully, and the homeroom teacher frowned at Sujinia with displeasure. "Didn't you say you've been class monitor since you were a kid? How can you mess up something as basic as ordering class uniforms? Can you get this done or not? If not, let the class monitor handle it, and I'll cover the cost for now." Sujinia quickly spoke up. "I can do it, homeroom teacher. I can definitely do it. It was just a misunderstanding. I used to shop in the capital, so it's only natural to feel a bit out of place here at first. Give me another chance." Everyone, since she was already so enthusiastic and proactive, the teacher nodded in response, so he gave her 4,000 yuan for the dress deposit. 7. The class uniforms have been ordered. It's one of the 3 sets I originally chose, but it was clearly much worse in quality. Yet, she shifted the blame onto me. "Class monitor, this is the one you had your eye on before. The set for 98. I thought the quality would be great, but it turns out it's just a SOS. If I hadn't trusted you, I wouldn't have chosen this one. But since I've already bought it, there's no turning back." I didn't call her out in public. Instead, I pretended not to know. How has the boss cut corners to this extent now? But I remember that buying 40 sets means an automatic 30% off, which leaves over 8,000 yuan. That's just enough to buy water and make banners for next week's basketball game. Please, dream on. If you think you can get away with taking money. A flicker of pain crossed Suga's eyes, but afraid that I might actually go ask the boss, she could only nod reluctantly. "Yeah, there's still over 1,000 yuan left. There are 2 months until graduation, and quite a few events in between. If it's not enough by then, we'll all chip in more." The students immediately started complaining when they heard they had to pay more. 1,000+ bucks is enough if you're careful. Exactly. Back when the class monitor was in charge of the class fund, it was only a H100 red bucks per semester, and that even covered the sports meet expenses. They never asked us for extra money. Anyway, the money's gone. Plan it properly yourself, or let the class monitor keep managing it if you can't handle it. Now that the money was in her hands, how could Sujin have her to let it go? He immediately thumped his chest and promised, "Don't worry, I know everyone's money doesn't grow on trees. I'll make sure to use every penny wisely and sparingly. I'll do my best to make sure you enjoy life to the fullest, even when money is tight." With things put so plainly, everyone had no choice but to believe. Sujin has snorted at me triumphantly, and my smile was even brighter than hers. With the college entrance exam approaching, there was so much going on in the class. Thanks to her, I saved myself a lot of trouble. This also frees up more time to prepare for the college entrance exam, an opportunity one missed in my past life. But this time, I absolutely won't let it slip away. I've never settled for second place, and this time, I'm determined to win the championship 8. Suga, who had successfully seized power from me, strutted around like a victorious general, insufferably smug during class. I helped the teacher monitor classroom discipline, checked the class's cleanliness, and even had time to observe personal grooming, noticing that someone's hair was too long and another person's nails were dirty. She constantly flaunts her authority, runs to the teacher the moment she's unhappy, and even leads attempts to isolate and bully me. It's a pity, but I'm just not buying what she's selling. The less my classmates interacted with me, the more time I had to read and practice problems. I'm truly grateful to her. The final mock exam is coming up soon. She used to be an average student, but this time she ranked last in the class and fell outside the top 300 in the grade. She was publicly called out and criticized by the homeroom teacher. Suga, look at your grades. Forget about a top-tier university. Even getting into any college will be a struggle. Other teachers always say you don't pay attention in class, and your homework is sloppy. If you don't want to take the college entrance exam, just say it now. I'm not going to waste my time on you. With such a great role model like the class monitor right in front of you, can't you learn from her? She's ranked first in the city again this time, and has a real shot at becoming the top scorer in the college entrance exam. You're in the same class taught by the same teachers. How can there be such a huge difference? Sujinio was furious and abruptly stood up. Class teacher, that's way too biased of you to say. If it weren't for the class monitor being so selfish and neglecting class affairs, would I have to spend so much time managing things every day and see my grades drop so fast? After saying that, he turned to me with an indignant look. Class monitor, how dare you stay silent? Got your benefits, and now you're hiding. Huh. I let out a sneer and shot back without holding back. What do you mean by hiding? Isn't all of this exactly what you wanted? I was doing just fine as class monitor, and everyone was comfortable with it. You are the one who kept picking on me, trying to take over the position. Was it wrong of me to go along with you? A student's primary duty at school is to study. What's wrong with me studying? Besides, my grades have never dropped in all my years as class monitor. If you can't keep up, don't blame the road for being bumpy. The moment these words were spoken, the classroom erupted in laughter. Sujin's face flushed bright red in an instant, and she shot me a fierce glare. He's holding a grudge against me and wants to get back at me. 9. After the exam, there was a basketball game. It was still a friendly match against the other 4 nearby universities, and the idea was to help everyone relax a bit, with the college entrance exam just around the corner. In the end, Suga insisted that the boys in the class practice basketball at the court whenever they had free time, and we girls had to cheer them on from the sidelines to hype up the atmosphere. There's only 1 month left until the college entrance exam. Anyone with a shred of common sense knows how tight the time is. But she said it with utter conviction. The college entrance exam is important, but the basketball game right in front of us matters just as much. It's about our school's reputation. So don't follow the class monitor's selfish example. We need to have team spirit. From now on, all our self-study sessions and the first evening study period will be spent practicing on the basketball court. I'm doing this for your own good. Only with a strong body can you perform better in the college entrance exam. In her past life, she loved being in the spotlight and insisted on making a big deal out of the basketball tournament. But I held back at the time and spent a considerable amount of money buying a lot of past exam papers for everyone to practice. And the improvement in scores was very noticeable, especially for Suga. I even specially made her mistake notebook, which helped her make tremendous progress. She acted all grateful to my face, but behind my back, she set up a private group chat, telling them I was a dictator, that I looked down on them, and spreading all kinds of lies. And they were so foolish that they all believed it. Not a single one of them warned me. I have no obligation to help such an ungrateful person. So this time, I ignored the academic committee member's pleading look, casually twirled my pen, and let my brain, which had been tense from grinding through 3 sets of exam papers, finally unwind. In the end, the class academic monitor couldn't take it anymore, and dragged a few classmates to secretly report it to the homeroom teacher. Sujin had got a severe scolding, being told to focus her mind on studying, and that many classmates had complaints about her behavior, so she should reflect on herself. After she came out of the office, she stormed straight to my seat and said angrily, "You're the class monitor. What's the point of tattling? If you think basketball practice takes up study time, just say it directly. Why stir up the classmates to complain to the teacher? Someone as malicious as you has no right to be our class monitor." I picked up the completed test papers from the desk and gave them a shake. I've been grinding through practice problems all morning. Haven't even gone to the bathroom once. How could I have gone to tattle to the teacher? Besides, haven't I always called you out to your face? If you think I'd go behind your back and tattle on you, don't flatter yourself. Better think about who you've offended in the past. 10. Suga is no fool. My eyes immediately swept across the classmates in the room, and I noticed the study monitor, who looked a bit flustered. This was her best friend in the class, and she was absolutely furious. "Study committee member, I've been so good to you, and you actually stabbed me in the back. Don't let her delicate and gentle appearance fool you. She's often badmouthed all of you to me, especially you. Class monitor, she said you look down on everyone because of your good grades and family background. She also said the sports monitor is all brawn and no brains, and told the Chinese class rep to take a good look in the mirror. How dare someone like you have a crush on her? And there's more." The committee member was so anxious that they burst into tears, shaking their head frantically. "I didn't say that. She's deliberately slandering me." The fake innocence only infuriated Sujin even more. So, she directly pulled out her phone and scrolled through their chat history. The academic committee member was directly nailed to the pillar of shame. With no way to recover, the matter had blown up quite a bit, and it only settled down after the homeroom teacher gave both sides a good scolding. But the class was divided into 2 factions. One side supported Sajina, believing she was straightforward and valued loyalty. Also, I support the class committee member. I think she's so gentle and kind that she would never do something like that. I was perfectly happy with this, and even when the homeroom teacher asked me several times about the class situation, I just pretended nothing was happening. It's so entertaining to watch them tear each other apart, and it also slows down everyone's learning progress. It's all benefits, and no downsides. In the blink of an eye, it was already 1 week before the college entrance exam. Just like in the previous life, the relentless rainy weather continued, accompanied by occasional thunder and lightning. I didn't bring up the chartered car this time, since I have a private car and driver anyway. But the homeroom teacher spoke up. "It's raining heavily this time, and the weather forecast predicts it will continue for at least another half month. I suggest you could charter a bus. It'll be more convenient for pickups and drop-offs. Of course, this is just a suggestion. Whether you actually charter one is up to you." Suga immediately chimed in. "I was thinking the same thing, even if you hadn't said it. Class teacher, I was already planning to do it. We still have some money left over from buying the class uniforms. It might be a bit tight for chartering a bus, but I'll cover the rest. I promise it won't affect everyone's college entrance exam." The homeroom teacher said approvingly. "In that case, I'll leave this to you. Let me know right away if anything comes up." Sujin immediately lifted her chin. With a smug look, he shot a sarcastic glance at me and the class monitor. The monitor's face darkened, but I kept a slight smile on my lips. Renting an entire bus, especially for 3 consecutive days during the college entrance exams, is no small expense. She's almost spent all the money she embezzled from the school uniform fund. The long, aided show is finally about to begin. 11. On the day of the college entrance exam, it poured, with rain. Most of the other students at school had already left, but our class was still all waiting by the school gate for the bus. Sujin has said smugly, "Good thing I thought ahead and booked a bus for everyone. Otherwise, We'd all be soaked through if we took a taxi to the exam venue. Chartered buses are in such high demand right now. If I hadn't pulled some strings, forget about using the little class funds we have left. Even if we had 2,000 or 3,000 more, we still wouldn't be able to book one. I'm not like those who just spout sweet, hypocritical words. I'm a man of action, bringing real benefits and advantages to everyone. I don't mind bearing some criticism. This is a dig at me and the academic committee member. The study committee member's face turned pale with anger, but she hadn't really done anything for the group. So, she had no ground to argue. Just as I was about to argue, I saw a shabby minibus coming. The maximum passenger capacity is 25, but there are 40 students in the class. Suga was the first to dash in, grab a seat, and sit down, then waved everyone over. What are you all standing around for? Get up here quick. There are a few less seats, but we can just squeeze in. None of us paid for this ride, so we should be grateful to have a car at all. If you don't want to take this, then just hail a cab. It'll be at least half an hour before we get there. And by the time the car arrives, the exam will have already started. His tone was dripping with smugness, no matter how annoyed the class committee members were. They had to swallow their anger and get on the bus. Just me standing there. Sujin has sneered. Class monitor, what are you playing at? This is no time for your act. Don't you dare blame me if you missed the college entrance exam. Because you didn't get on the bus yourself. A smile curls at the corners of my mouth. No thanks. I have a driver picking me up. My car is the stretch version. You know, if any of you want to ride, you're all welcome. As soon as he finished speaking, the chauffeur, who had been waiting nearby all along, drove up in the luxury car. Sujin's eyes went wide, with jealousy at the sight. Many classmates were tempted and wanted to come down. Sujin had threatened viciously, if you dare get in her car, then don't even think about riding in mine for the next 3 days. So, they all stopped in their tracks. I just curled my lips meaningfully and said, since there's nothing, I'll be off then. Wishing everyone success in the college entrance exams. And may all your dreams come true. With that, the driver slammed the door and drove off. Their beat-up bus wobbled along behind, but was pulled over by a traffic cop as it passed through the intersection. Overloading a vehicle is a serious safety hazard, especially on a stormy day like this. In the end, the traffic police let them off the hook out of consideration that they were all college entrance exam takers, and even led the way, with a police car escorting them. But this beat-up van just died on the road halfway. 12, as in the previous life. Some students missed the college entrance exam, but Sujin didn't miss it. She arrived at the exam hall just in time, escorted by a police car. More than half of her classmates were just as lucky. I may not have missed the college entrance exam, but the rain has soaked my clothes and completely shattered my composure. I was the only one who came unscathed, and I performed exceptionally well on the exam, making the top scorer in the college entrance exam a sure thing. It seemed even the heavens were happy for me. Right after the exam, the weather cleared up. As soon as Sujin has stepped out of the exam hall, she was surrounded by the parents of her classmates, all of whom wore extremely grim expressions, with a few even looking fierce and menacing. It's your crappy car that made my son miss the college entrance exam. Why should you, the one to blame, be allowed to take the college entrance exam, while my daughter can't? She was such a good student and could have gotten into a top university. It's all your fault. You have to take responsibility. You're so young. How can you be this vicious? Where are your parents? We're going to have a word with them. Sujin's face turned pale with fear, and she immediately pointed at me. This isn't my fault. If anyone's to blame, it's her. She's our class monitor. She selfishly hugged the monitor position without doing anything. I'm just the embodiment of justice, kindly helping everyone out. I shouldn't be held accountable. Her family is loaded. If you don't believe me, ask your own kids. She can easily compensate each of you with hundreds of thousands or even millions. My family is dirt poor. Even if you go to my parents, it won't do you any good. They all turn to look at me. Their gaze is greedy and venomous. But as soon as he noticed the bodyguards behind me, he immediately backed down. Nothing like the ravenous wolf he was in my past life. What a bunch of spineless bullies, I said, feigning innocence. and helplessness. Suga, would it kill you not to pin the blame on me? You were the one who stole my class monitor position in the first place, embezzled most of the money from ordering the class uniforms, and then afraid we'd all find out, made up an excuse about chartering a bus for the exam. But you were too cheap to spend the money, so you rented this beat-up old bus instead. Back then, plenty of classmates wanted to get on my bus, but you threatened them not to, which made them miss the college entrance exam. You need to take responsibility for them. Clear and logical, leaving no room for any false accusation. A flicker of panic flashed in Sue Gina's eyes as she hastily explained, "You're talking nonsense. Do you have any proof? If you have no evidence, I can sue you for defamation, and you could end up in jail." Don't believe her. Everyone. She's just jealous that I'm more popular than her. So she's deliberately twisting the truth. 13. I knew all along that Sejinya would be stubborn and refuse to admit the truth. So the next second, the bus driver appeared, grabbed Sejinya by the collar, with veins bulging on his forehead. "You little liar. We agreed on 600 for 3 days of car rental. But you just gave me a 200 deposit, and then blocked me. I already told you beforehand that my car can take at most 25 people. You insisted it was fine, and now you're making up excuses to weasel out of paying. I'm telling you, no way. Pay up now, or don't blame me for being rough with you." At the same time, a middle-aged man stormed over, with a police officer, pointing angrily at Sejinya. "It's her. She ordered 40 class uniforms from me, but after receiving them, she claimed there were quality issues and demanded a refund without returning the items. In the end, I had no choice but to agree to sell her the 40 sets for 8,000, and I secretly transferred another 2,000 to her. Though I was furious, I figured it was better to lose some money to avoid further trouble. A lesson learned, a gain in wisdom. But I never expected that just a couple of days ago, she applied for a refund only in the store, demanding a full refund, and left dozens of negative reviews. I just can't swallow this insult. I drove over 2,000 kilometers just to seek justice. The onlookers erupted in an uproar. When the private detective first told me about the vicious thing she had done, I was stunned for a long time. She's truly rotten to the core. I'm not going to let her get beaten to death by these parents. This is way too easy on her. Suga has been placed under administrative detention. Not only did he lose all his money, but his reputation was completely ruined, and he also failed the college entrance exam. Her parents weren't some high executives at a foreign company, just ordinary factory workers. Yet, no one expected her to be so vain. He beat her severely right at the school gate, breaking several sticks in the process. They even forced her to kneel down in front of everyone. She glared at me with venomous hatred, as if she wanted to devour me alive. I just looked down on her from the start. I never saw her as a rival. I have no interest in female rivalry, nor did I ever imagine human nature could be so vile. But I'm not the one who did wrong, so I have no need to regret it. All I have to do is return kindness with kindness, and repay resentment with resentment. 14. On the day the college entrance exam results were released, my doorstep was bustling with excitement. Every top scorer in the college entrance exams over the years has been honored with this privilege. My parents were beside themselves with excitement, and even my homeroom teacher had red-rimmed eyes on the side. Only they know how hard the journey has been for me throughout my 3 years of high school. I never once went to bed before midnight, even in storms, rain, or with a fever and cold. I have never missed a single class holding the microphone. I first expressed gratitude to the teachers and parents before letting out a sigh, as if by accident many of my classmates could have gotten into top-tier universities. They worked just as hard as I did, if not harder. But then some unexpected things happened, and they all missed out on their dream universities. Some even went straight to work. Such a shame. I've always remembered how when we first entered high school, we proudly declared that we'd meet at the top, rise to high positions, and have each other's backs. For 3 years, I've kept that promise. Even though you've temporarily broken it, I still believe in you. If the peak won't hold us, then let's retrace our steps and start over. This mix of regret and impassioned words went viral online. Everyone started digging into what happened in our class. And then Sejinya became famous, In her past life, didn't she really want to be an influencer? We're good friends. How could I not help her get what she wants? A year later, I had just been elected president of the student council at Qingbei University when news of Sujin's death arrived. Every single classmate in her class had a hand in her death. The words I said in the interview made my classmates suddenly see the light. But it was too late. Suja had already ruined their lives, so they were determined to ruin hers. He tricked her into coming out under the guise of a class party, got her drunk, then let thugs assault her, and filmed it to blackmail her. From then on, she became the plaything of the thugs, and in the end, they toyed with her to death. Sujin head is a beast, and so are they. So from now on, I'm going to give each of them a miserable life. Let them know what it means to be at the bottom of society, to barely survive, and to wish they were dead. The end. Story 2. My grandmother was a seer who could foresee the future days before her passing. She called me to her bedside and said I would inherit her gift of foresight after she was gone. But I must never tell a soul, especially not my mother, or the entire village would perish in my past life. I didn't grasp the meaning behind her words, thinking it stemmed from the long-standing tension between her and my mother. But after my mother repeatedly swore to keep it secret, I confided in her about my ability to see the future. My mother claimed she couldn't keep the secret alone, so she made the entire village keep it with her to ensure that she kept me in the village forever. And I never even had the chance to go to school. I was locked in the house where my grandmother used to live. Villagers would often come by with meat and candy, asking me to predict their fortunes and futures. I finally understood why Grandma told me never to share the secret with anyone, especially not my mother, because she would turn me into a tool for profit, using me to gather wealth for my brother's future marriage and children, and I, along with everyone in our village, would end up dead because of the woman my brother brought home. I swore to myself that in this lifetime, no one must ever learn my secret. The moment Grandma passed, my mother, just like in my past life, immediately pressed me. Did Grandma say anything to you? Did she mention who the next seer would be? I shook my head and told her Grandma hadn't said a word. Perhaps the next seer would be among the women who marry into the village in the future. This was hardly surprising. After all, my grandmother herself had been an outsider who married into the village, and the village seers had always been women who joined through marriage. Sometimes one, sometimes two, or even more. My mother looked utterly dejected. She said, if only I were a seer, I could earn more money for the family and help my brother get married someday. I smiled and told my mother, if I study hard, win scholarships, and make good money in the future, I can help my brother, too. Besides, all seers are women from outside who marry into the village. I'm a local girl. How could I ever become a seer? My mother believed me and told the other villagers that my grandmother hadn't revealed who the next seer would be. The village head was the first to doubt her story. He came to our house and meticulously questioned us about my grandmother's every move before she died. When he learned she had met with me just a few days prior, he began to interrogate me. I insisted that Grandma hadn't said anything special. She just asked me to bring her some water. The village chief claimed that seers aren't allowed to leave home, or the village dogs would collectively attack them. Did he really think that would stop me? Of course it didn't. I'd known all along this was just their recycled excuse from past lives to keep me confined. Using it again now was nothing but a bluff. I stepped outside and cheerfully greeted the neighbor's dog. Just like always, it wiped its tail at me. The village chief shook his head and told my mother, it seems your mother-in-law didn't designate you as the next seer. True, a seer can name their successor, passing the gift to another, but they'll die within a week. That's why no seer has ever revealed the secret, and none have willingly passed on their foresight. A few days later, my brother returned from his travels, bringing with him a beautiful woman named Maggie. Just like in my past life, I saw Maggie's future steeped in sin. She would bring about the deaths of my brother, my mother, and even the entire village. In my past life, I told my mother about the future I foresaw, but everyone accused me of using my seer status to lie. They were convinced I was just afraid Maggie would become the next oracle. This is Because oracles always emerge from among the women who marry into the village. If a local woman becomes a seer, she loses her ability to foresee the future once a new bride enters her household. No matter how much I tried to explain in that lifetime, nobody would listen. To make matters worse, Maggie began displaying classic signs of a seer. The village dogs would snarl at her. Roosters stopped crowing. Hens ceased clucking. And even the aggressive geese that terrorized the village would flee at the sight of her. The villagers claimed these animals feared her growing power, convinced she was destined to become the most powerful oracle our village had ever seen. But I knew all the animals detested her. They'd have killed her if they could, yet were powerless against her. When Maggie first arrived in the village, she claimed to be just a tourist wanting to experience rural life and local customs. Just like in her previous life, she started asking about the village seer the moment she arrived in her past life. When Maggie learned I was the village seer, she immediately proposed to marry my brother. There were rumors that my foresight would vanish once she was with him. She then used trickery to alter my prophecy, making everyone believe I had lost my gift of foresight. Time and again, I clearly saw how things would end, but she always found a way to change the outcome. In the end, I had no choice but to admit that my precognitive abilities were fading. Everyone believes Maggie is the next seer, and that her abilities surpass mine. In this lifetime, upon learning that my grandmother, the previous seer, had passed away, she proposed to marry my brother. Just like in our previous life, she moved straight into my home, without asking for a bride price or any formal wedding arrangements. Getting pregnant first before we held the banquet, it felt like a dream come true. So, naturally, my mother and brother were overjoyed. In my past life, I tried everything to stop her from entering her home, because I knew she had ulterior motives. But even my own family didn't believe me, let alone the villagers. So, she moved in, without a hitch, and became the prophet this time around. Not only did I not try to stop her, I actually welcomed her with open arms, because I already knew as long as I didn't defy her, she wouldn't harm me. As for my mom and brother, I can only wish them the best of luck. Just like in her previous life, Maggie was being difficult, clinging to my brother every day. But there was never any sign of a baby. Over time, my brother didn't seem to mind, but my mom started to complain. My mom began making snide remarks every day, calling Maggie a barren hen. From the next day onward, Maggie would slaughter a hen every day to make soup. She'd then show my mother the bird's belly full of unlaid eggs, insisting the problem wasn't the hen's failure to lay eggs, but my mother's lack of fortune and patience after every single hen in the household had been consumed. My mother never dared complain about unproductive hens again. Maggie claimed, "You are what you eat." If they wanted her to bear children, she should be eating pregnant animals, so she'd quickly conceive herself. I was utterly horrified. She'd become even more ruthless than in her previous life. In her past life, she only developed this craving for pregnant animals after she herself became pregnant. This time around, provoked by my mother, she ended up devouring all the hens, and even wanted to eat other pregnant animals. When she eats fish, it has to be one bursting. With roe, she's particularly obsessed. With the eggs, I'm seriously worried she'll end up with a whole litter of babies. Sadly, I've seen her future in this life. She'll only bear one child, and that very child will be the death of her. She loved eating river snails, and could tell the males from the females. She would only eat the female ones, giving the males to the villagers. Everyone regarded her as a prophet and held her in high esteem. The villagers knew her rule, too. Whenever they came to seek her divination, they would bring live, fresh animals, especially pregnant ones. As a result, our home was constantly supplied with pregnant rabbits and chickens, ducks, and geese that were laying eggs. Sometimes my mother would feel sorry for them, thinking the rabbits were about to give birth, or the chickens, ducks, and geese were in the middle of laying eggs, and it would be better to keep them a little longer. Whichever one she dared to care for, Maggie would devour first, reading her mind with uncanny precision. Gradually, just like in her past life, my mother became Maggie's most devoted and loyal follower. One day, Maggie asked me why she hadn't seen my dad around, and where he had gone. I shook my head and said I didn't know. Then I asked her, since she's a seer, how come she couldn't tell where my father had gone. She said she could only see what will happen, not what has already happened. I knew she wasn't a real seer, but a strange feeling welled up inside me. It's as if ever since Grandma passed away, I've been able to clearly see future events. And after meeting Maggie, I started seeing glimpses of the past, something that never happened in my previous life. But I could never tell anyone, especially not my mother, because I had already seen her past. She wasn't my biological mother, and my brother wasn't my real brother either. When my brother was 5, Grandma had a terrifying vision of the future. He would bring ruin upon the entire village for a woman. My father said he was willing to bear the burden of my brother's future. Since so, Grandma told my father to take some liquor, burn down the fox Denley away, and then head west, without ever looking back. But when dawn broke, my father started missing my mother and brother, so he turned right back around. That's when Grandma came up with another solution to bring back a girl blessed with great fortune from the foot of the mountain to keep watch. Following Grandma's instructions, my father went beyond the mountains and brought me home. My mother once said, since I was blessed with such great fortune, why raise me as a daughter? Wouldn't it be better to raise me as a daughter-in-law? Grandma said that taking me away had already brought heavy karmic consequences, and if they forced me into marriage or mistreated me, the entire village would perish at first. My mother didn't believe it and abandoned me in the mountains. That very night, a pack of foxes broke into our home and mauled my father to death, leaving nothing behind. The next day, Grandma said that if they didn't bring me back, the foxes would figure out we were the ones who burned their den to avert the village's doom. They'd surely return and slaughter everyone. So, my mother followed Grandma's advice and brought me back from the mountains. From then on, she raised me as her own daughter, and no one dared gossip behind my back. It was a matter of life and death for the entire village to make it up to me. Grandma passed on her gift of foresight, hoping I wouldn't hold a grudge against the family. To my horror, right after Grandma's death, my mother discovered I was a seer. For money, she locked me away in a room. Later, when Maggie got pregnant, she followed Maggie's advice, cut out my tongue, and broke my legs. So, when the village faced annihilation, I could only watch helplessly as everyone was poisoned and driven mad. In the end, I set a great fire, burning myself to death along with Maggie and the abomination she gave birth to. Remembering the agony of having my tongue cut out, my legs broken, and being reborn in flames from my past life, I couldn't help but shudder. Maggie gripped my chin, her long nails digging into my flesh as she asked nonchalantly, "You really don't know where your father went?" I saw through Maggie's past and future. She was a fox spirit here for revenge. Killing my father over a decade ago wasn't enough to quell the hatred burning inside her. Because both her parents were dead, I wanted to protect myself, and I wanted Maggie to die a gruesome death. So I told her my father had died when I was very young. If she wants to know how my father died, she should get pregnant first. Once she's pregnant, the village will hold a grand wedding feast. Without fail, on their wedding night, my brother will tell her all the secrets in this village. Only women who've had their wedding banquet are entitled to know our secrets. Maggie seemed lost and thought after hearing what I said. A few months later, Maggie announced she was pregnant, her belly slightly rounded. My mother and brother were overjoyed and began consulting someone to calculate an auspicious date. Soon, they settled on the exact same date as in their previous life. In this life, I wasn't cooped up indoors. Every day, I'd trek miles through mountain paths to school and back, spending weekends herding cattle at home. One day, noticing our cow was pregnant, I whispered in her ear, "Take your calf and leave, or she'll devour you both." Cattle are intuitive creatures. I believe she understood my warning, and exactly who I meant in our previous life. Maggie had brutally slaughtered 2 pregnant cows along, with several pregnant cenas for her wedding feast, driving every sensitive animal in the village to madness at the 100-day celebration for Maggie's son. Pregnant animals began poisoning themselves. Cattle and sheep stamped. Cats and dogs went mad. In the end, some villagers were poisoned. while others were driven insane. I was spared from the disaster only because I never even had a chance to step outside when Maggie learned I wasn't from the village. She didn't kill me. She only killed my mother and brother, but she had already destroyed me before, with her poisonous words costing me my ability to speak and walk. I despise her with every fiber of my being. So I dead their room with liquor, knocked them out with the fumes, and set the place ablaze amid the roaring flames. I watched the fire spread until the entire village perished. Then I woke up reborn on the very day Grandma passed her gift of foresight to me. Moo! The cow before me suddenly let out a long, mournful sigh, then dropped to its knees and bowed before me, tears streaming from its eyes somehow. I understood exactly what it meant. It was begging me to care for its child. I saw its future. It didn't have long to live. If Maggie consumed it, its child would be reborn in Maggie's womb. That's why I was willing to die, to give its offspring a fighting chance at life. It pleaded with me to tell Maggie that it was pregnant and to move the wedding date forward. That way, Maggie could consume the unborn calf before both mother and child perished that day. I came home with a heavy heart. I've already checked, and there's no way to save the mother cow. The only chance is for Maggie to eat the calf. That might give it a fighting chance. I secretly told Maggie that our family cow is pregnant, but since the cow is so big, my mom would never agree to slaughter it for food. The next day, Maggie started pestering my mom as expected, demanding to eat the family cow. My mom said it would be a shame to slaughter such a big cow just to eat it. Maggie held her belly and said her unborn son was craving VE, and didn't my mom want her future grandson to be as strong as a little calf? My mom had no choice but to agree, and then moved up my brother's wedding date so we could slaughter the cow. Because the wedding was moved up, and no one in the village was sure which pigs, cows, or sheep were pregnant, they just randomly picked a few and started preparing for the wedding banquet. As for Maggie, she didn't have much appetite either. She repeatedly insisted that the contents from our family cow's womb be saved for her to process personally, but didn't press for anything beyond that. On the night our family cow was slaughtered, my mother brought all the contents from its womb home and began processing them in the yard, fighting back nausea. I helped my mother with the cleaning. The sight of that large bovine fetus undulating rhythmically in the amniotic fluid made me vomit uncontrollably. Maggie insisted on handling it herself. She rinsed the entire calf fetus, carefully placed it in the pot, and remarked that the amniotic fluid was packed with nutrients. Then she added the calf's heart to the pot to stew together. The remaining parts were cleaned by my mother and shared with the entire village along with the rest. Just like in my past life, I couldn't bring myself to eat a single bite of the beef. This was an animal I'd raised from birth after all after the wedding. Just like in her previous life, Maggie seemed to hold much less hostility toward me. She must have already figured out I wasn't the biological daughter of this family. She started putting in a good word for me with my brother and Mom, saying things like, "She's already this old. Isn't it dangerous for her to walk such a long mountain road to school every day? Wouldn't it be better for her to just live on campus? That way, she'd only come home once every month or two. It's safer and would actually help her focus on her studies." I knew exactly what she was doing. She just found me in the way at home. My brother immediately suggested that since I was already 16, there was no point in continuing my education. Instead, he proposed following village tradition and marrying me off to a suitable family. Maggie asked, "What if forcing her into marriage leads to terrible consequences?" My mother, likely recalling what happened before my father's death, quickly insisted they couldn't force me to marry. I knelt at their feet and promised I could live at school, pledging to support my young nephew financially once I started earning money. But my mother and brother were reluctant to give me money for school. I told them that children in our village receive subsidies, so no money was needed. My mother finally agreed. Before leaving home, I already saw my mother's future. She would be completely enslaved by Maggie, just like my brother, because she lacked resolve just as he did, and Maggie, because of the child in her womb, would never be able to cause trouble again. With their permission, I left the village under the cover of night. When I reached Fox Mountain, about 20 li from the village, I couldn't resist setting a fire in the cave, Foxes are the natural enemies of prophets. So, whenever we pass Fox Mountain, we have our followers pour liquor and set fires in the fox dens, even though there haven't been any foxes in these mountains for many years. This was my first time doing it myself, and to my surprise, amid the blazing fire, I heard the fox's mournful howls and saw Maggie's face contorted, with gritted teeth and profound sorrow. I kept running in a panic until I reached the roadside. Only when I saw the houses and sparse pedestrians along the road did I finally let out a sigh of relief. A large rock by the roadside caught my attention. It was a natural boulder big enough to seat several people. Every time I pass by it, I feel a sense of familiarity, as if we've known each other for ages, even though it's just a stone. Usually there are always people taking photos on it whenever I pass by. But today, it's still early, and there's not a soul in sight. Having traveled through the night, I was both exhausted and hungry, so I just lay down on it soon. I fell into a deep sleep and had a strange dream, and in the dream, a careless couple placed their daughter on the rock for a photo while passing by, but forgot her when they left. When they remembered and returned, the child was gone from the rock, and no one knew where she had disappeared to. "Wake up, child." A man gently shook me. I groggy opened my eyes, but couldn't make out the person standing before me. A large, cool hand rested on my forehead, so soothing and refreshing. "This child has a fever. She must have slept on the stone floor last night, trying to stay cool. Get her to the hospital. Quick!" A deep male voice said near my ear. In my dazed state, I was picked up and taken to the hospital. When I woke up, it was already evening. A man held my hand, his voice warm and emotional as he said, "My daughter." For the first time, I felt genuine fear and dread, because this man was shrouded in mystery. I couldn't see any future for him. I've never encountered anyone like him before. I snatched my hand back, curling up on the bed as I whispered, "Don't touch me." I'm terrified of being touched by strangers. Their futures flashed before my eyes against my will. But I was also afraid of this man's touch. Not being able to see his future left me completely at a loss. He said helplessly that I was his long-lost daughter named Mia. A sudden splitting headache seized me. The name Mia felt etched into my mind, while the name Ella I'd used in the village. What kind of name was that? Really? The doctor beside us produced a document announcing that the test results were in. I was indeed the missing Mia, this man's daughter who had been separated from him for years. I've seen the doctor's future. He's highly skilled and virtuous, destined to become a renowned physician and take over this hospital. So, he wasn't lying. So, this man named Harry is my biological father. If seers can't foresee their own future, nor that of their family or powerful demons. So, he's either my real father or a terrifying demon. I went with Harry to the villa and met the rest of the family. A woman named Fong Jing, who claims to be my biological mother, my brother Zach, and a sister named Sherry. I couldn't witness what happened to Harry and Fong Jing, but I saw Zach and Sherry's past and future. Zach was indeed Fong Jing's biological son, while Sherry was the girl they found on that large rock. In the future, Zach and Sherry would become a happy couple. It turned out that every so often, Fong Jing would visit that rock and take in girls who had spent the night there. Perhaps they firmly believed this would help them find their own biological daughter. Even though Harry and Fong Jing presented DNA test results proving I'm their biological daughter, I just can't feel close to them. Strangely enough, I even feel they treat me less warmly than my foster mother. In the village did. How could a biological mother be less caring than a foster mother? And it's not like my foster mother was particularly good to me either. Yet, this intuition persists. On my first night back at their villa, Fun Jing insisted on sharing my bed, saying she couldn't bear to be apart. After finally finding her daughter, despite my objections, she slept beside me. Anyway, the moment we laid down for the night, she asked me if after all these years in the village, I had gained the ability to foresee the future and become a seer. How did she know about the seers? Remembering what Grandma said before she died, I had a strange feeling. Could it be that any mother figure in my life, biological or not, must never learn of my foresight I told her grandma had passed away, and the new seer was my brother's wife, who was also pregnant. Fang Jing sat up in bed, seething with rage, and cursed that damned old hag. After I helped her clean up her mess, she promised to pass the ability to you, and she double-crossed me. I'll slaughter her whole village. There's no way around it. I can't see Fun Jing's past or future. All I can surmise is that she must have struck some kind of deal with Grandma, deliberately leaving me on that stone, so someone would bring me to the village. No wonder I never felt close to them. They abandoned me on purpose. They knew exactly where I was in the village, yet never once came looking for me. All for that so-called ability to foresee the future. Fun left my room, didn't stay with me, and went to find Harry instead. The room was well soundproofed. I couldn't make out what they were saying. My guess is they were discussing how to handle me, probably planning to send me away tomorrow. The next day, Harry told me he would send me to a boarding school in the city. It seems he still acknowledged our blood ties, even if he couldn't bring himself to like me. He was willing to provide me with a basic education. Fun Jing said that no matter what, my foster mother in the village had raised me, and they would cover my tuition and living expenses from now on. I should still make time to visit my family back home. Of course, I'll go back. I still need to see how Maggie's story ends. Fun Jing said that given my age, I should be in 10th grade, but since my previous education was limited, it would be better to repeat 9th grade for a year before starting high school. I insisted on attending 10th grade, and believed I could pass the entrance exam. After all, I could predict the answers just by glancing at the questions. And the people around me, what was there to fear? With some time still left before school started, Fang Jing enrolled me in a cram school, the kind where you don't go home every day. It seems the whole family can't stand the sight of me, but I don't get it. They're already rolling in money. What more could they want? With that precognition ability, as expected. After previewing the answers in the high school's admission scores, I managed to scrape through the entrance exam, with just enough points to get accepted. Fun Jing handled my school enrollment, ID card, and bank card procedures for me. When the first monthly exam ended, and we had time off, Fang Jing took Sherry and me to the village. She brought a whole bunch of gifts to thank my foster mother for raising and taking care of me. Maggie froze for a moment when she saw Fang Jing. I didn't see Fang Jing appear in her past or future, but when she saw Sherry, fear flashed in her eyes. I saw Maggie and Sherry's past. They were actually mother and son, both foxes. Maggie had placed Sherry on that rock, and to save her own life, she was forced to leave her child there. She came to the village with one goal: to exact revenge, gain the seer's power, and find Sherry. My mind is completely tangled. What on earth happened? Fang Jing said nothing to Maggie, but when her eyes fell on Maggie's belly, her gaze turned strange and heavy. I'm not sure if she had noticed something, but in the end, she didn't say anything to Maggie. That evening after dinner, she asked Maggie about her due date and told her she would come back after the baby was born. Then instead of staying overnight in the village, she left with me and Sherry. Maggie wanted to have a few more words with Sherry, but she seemed quite intimidated by Fang Jing and ultimately said nothing. When I returned, I noticed Sherry's future had shifted. What was once a bright path where she would become Zach's wife had now changed. But after this incident, her future became hazy and uncertain, and even Zach's future grew indistinct. I couldn't tell if my precognitive abilities were fading or if something was interfering with them. Still, I kept up a normal front, acting as though I hadn't seen anything at all back at school. I realized my precognitive ability was still intact when I saw everyone's future remained unchanged. As Maggie's due date approached, Fang Jing arranged leave for sure, and me in that day, taking us to the village. Maggie's belly was enormous, looking as if she was carrying multiple babies. Fun Jing suggested that since Maggie likely couldn't deliver the child, she should transfer her precognitive ability to either Sherry or me. A sense of foreboding washed over me as Maggie's gaze met mine, and in her eyes, I saw two possible futures unfold. In one future, she said she would pass the gift of foresight to me, after which the entire village would perish, deemed no longer necessary to exist. In the other, She revealed that bestowing the power upon Sherry would cost Maggie her life, and Sherry would then marry Zack. Yet, the village would still meet its end, for it too would be deemed unnecessary. However, once Sherry was discovered to lack the gift of foresight, the villagers would be reborn, and a new seer would be chosen. Now, I know how I was reborn. It was Fong Jing. Just as Maggie was about to reveal who would inherit the precognitive ability, a sharp kick from her womb made her let out an involuntary, piercing scream. Ah! The pain kept her from uttering another word. Her belly grew larger and more transparent. Feng Jing told my adoptive mother she could handle the delivery, then closed the door. She promised to save Maggie if Maggie first transferred her precognitive abilities to her. But the fetus inside her seemed to sense the danger and kept struggling. Finally, a tiny finger emerged from Maggie's womb. In an instant, I saw his past and future. He is a demon, an ox demon, transferred from a cow's womb to a fox spirit's womb. The moment he is born, he will become immensely powerful. Soon, I could see nothing at all. A tiny hand emerged from Maggie's belly, followed by an arm. Feng Jing sensed something was wrong and moved to intervene, but it was already too late. Summoning courage from somewhere deep within, I grasped the small hand and gently pulled him free. "Mommy," he cried, throwing himself into my arms. I was stunned. How could he mistake me for his mother? Maggie let out a piercing scream of agony, transforming into a fox that lay on the ground, with its belly torn open, blood everywhere. Hearing the commotion, my foster mother pushed the door open to find me being held in the arms of a 2- or 3-year-old boy. Maggie was gone, and only a dead fox lay on the floor. My foster mother was terrified. She screamed, "The fox has come for revenge," and fled outside. My brother walked in from outside holding a hen, and said, with a laugh, "Maggie, I traveled a long way to buy you a laying hen." Seeing the fox on the ground, he reacted just like my adoptive mother, shrieking, "The fox is here for revenge," before turning and bolting outside. Soon, villagers gathered outside our house carrying hoes, sickles, and rakes. Feng Jing picked up the dead fox, walked to the courtyard gate, and calmly told the villagers that the fox had been impersonating a prophet to deceive people, and she had already killed it. Not a single person asked what had happened to Maggie's unborn child. I stood by the doorway, looking toward the main entrance, while Maggie's child hid behind the door, clutching the hem of my shirt tightly. The villagers breathed a collective sigh of relief, but instead of thanking Feng Jing, they wearily inquired about her identity. Upon learning that Feng Jing was my biological mother, they unanimously demanded she leave, saying she wasn't welcome in the village. Feng Jing didn't say much more. She glanced at me and left. With Sherry, she didn't ask me to leave with her, because there was fear in her eyes when she looked at me. Fear of the child Maggie had given birth to my adoptive mother. And brother had gone mad. I named Maggie's son Nikiko. I took Nico and left the village, because I had seen its future. No more prophets would emerge here. No more demons would appear. It was destined to become just an ordinary village. I went to the roadside, and that massive boulder was gone. I visited Harry and Feng Jing's home, but their entire family had moved away. Fortunately, I knew my name was Mia, and I had my own bank card, an ID. I went to the lottery shop, bought a ticket, and hit the jackpot for $1 million. I bought a house and got Nico and myself registered as residents. I enrolled Nico in kindergarten and went back to school myself. I figure Harry must be my biological father. The DNA test is legit, but whether Feng Jing is some kind of sorceress or actually my birth mother, I have no clue. I've never been able to see through her, but I knew they had abandoned me once again and would never come looking for me. I'll never understand why they needed me to become the prophet, and I don't want to know either. Nico is all I need. I thought that as long as I kept my identity as the prophet hidden, I could live peacefully in the city forever, enjoying carefree days. With Nico, one day, a man and a woman barged into my world, stirring up waves in my peaceful life. That day, Nico and I had just bought some scratch cards, and were about to leave with our winnings when a man blocked my path. He was tall and handsome, with blonde hair and blue eyes, everything I found attractive, but I couldn't see his past or future. With a sly smirk, he asked me how I'd managed to win. He was so good-looking. I couldn't help but steal a few extra glances. The girl at the lottery shop gazed at him drearily and said, "Handsome, they've bought up all the scratch cards in the store. If you buy all the double color balls, you could win, too." Yes, I've already been very cautious. Whenever Nico and I need money, we go to the lottery shop. When I'm in a hurry, I'll buy scratch cards. If I spot a store with winning tickets and the quantity isn't too high, I'll buy them all. When there's no rush, I buy online. I've added many lottery shop owners on WeChat and collect winnings from different people each round. The amounts aren't large anyway. I really don't think anyone would notice. Nico stepped in front of me and uttered a single icy word. "Get lost." The men glanced at Nico, but ignored him, leaning close to my ear to whisper, "A prophet who grows up alone, with only an underdeveloped great spirit by their side, is useless. Why not consider me instead?" Grabbing Nico's hand, I fled in a blind panic. Suddenly, a dreadful realization struck me. My parents didn't abandon me when they left. They wanted me to grow stronger on my own. They must have known I'd become a prophet if Fong Jing is so powerful that she'd sacrifice her own daughter for a prophet, and even restore an entire village. Why would she give up just because Nico showed up? What exactly do they want the prophet to do? I hadn't gone far when Nico dug his heels in, tugging my hand. He said, "Mom, we passed the new vegan buffet." No matter how many times I've told him, he still calls me Mom and refuses to change. That's right, we actually came to this new vegan buffet to buy scratch cards. They were more expensive than I expected. 1.200 yuan per person in cash only. Normally, we go for the 12 yuan per person places where Nico could eat enough to bankrupt the restaurant if I let him. But I never allow him to go all out, so he's never actually eaten his fill. With no other choice, I stopped and took him to the buffet. The place was completely empty except for a woman who claimed to be the owner. She was strange. I couldn't see her past or future. With her curvaceous hips and full bust, she swayed her slender waist as she approached. Nico crouched down and blew a soft breath toward him. Nico actually blushed, then broke free from my grasp. Was he actually reacting to the shop owner? He's only a 2-year-old child, even though he looks like he's 5 or 6. The shop owner took Nikiko's hand and said in a sweet, alluring voice, "Sweetie, come on, let big sister take you to get something tasty." Nico followed the woman, his little head not even half the size of the shopkeeper's. But for a split second, I wanted to turn and leave, gripped by fear of the unknown. But I couldn't bring myself to abandon Nico. He was just a child, with trepidation. I trailed behind them into the restaurant. Inside were delicacies I had never seen before. The shopkeeper told Nico he could eat to his heart's content. I tried to stop him, but it was too late, because I had seen the history of these delicacies. They weren't vegetarian food at all, but animal embryos. Nico used to be strictly vegetarian, so I only fed him milk, vegetables, and fruits. To meet his nutritional needs, I'd buy him unfertilized eggs and take him to vegetarian restaurants every weekend. I've never seen Nico so out of control. He threw caution to the wind and ate to his heart's content. This restaurant is clearly a trap. I saw a smug smile spread across the shopkeeper's face. She approached me and whispered, "Sir, don't you want to see more?" I kept backing away, holding a fiery red bead in her hand. She slowly approached me and said, "Swallow this, and you'll be able to see everything, even the whole world." I covered my mouth and shouted, "Nikiko!" Nico finally turned away from the huge pile of food. He showed intense interest in the bead, pouncing on it instantly and swallowing it in one gulp. The shopkeeper turned pale, with shock, frantically shaking Nico's body in an attempt to make him vomit. But it was too late. Nico had already swallowed it and was growing at a visible rate, transforming into a full-grown adult. My eyes were still filled with terror, but no longer the fear of the unknown. It was the fear of what I now knew. I had already glimpsed my own past and fragments of my future. I also saw that woman's past and glimpses of her future. She is Fong Jing, not my mother, but a powerful shape-shifting fox demon. My birth mother was a seer. After giving birth to me, my father forced her to open a gateway, one that would connect the human and demon realms to protect me. My birth mother refused to pass on her seer abilities even in death, and shattered my inner core, turning me into an ordinary human. Because any demon who opens that gate is doomed to die. That's why Fang Jing and her accomplices orchestrated the scheme to steal the power of foresight from the villagers. First, Fang Jing fabricated a story for Grandma, claiming that the fox maiden from the fox den would marry her brother and bring catastrophic disaster upon the villagers. Grandma believed it and sent her adoptive father to burn down the fox den. How could mortal flames possibly kill a demon? In her quest to be with my biological father, Fang Jing killed Maggie's father in the fire, faked her own death to escape the fox den, successfully reunited with my father, and planted the seeds of hatred in Maggie's heart. Then, Grandma actually witnessed a prophecy of the fox maiden seeking revenge and slaughtering the entire village. Seizing the opportunity, Fang Jing proposed that if Grandma would raise me and pass on her precognitive abilities to me, she would help the villagers through their crisis. Grandma couldn't see Fang Jing's future, nor could she see mine, leaving her half convinced and half doubting. Maggie sensed my presence in the village. Being an underage demon herself, she didn't act rashly except for that one night when my foster mother threw me out of the village. However, Maggie reached adulthood before I did. Once she realized she had become more powerful than me, she came to the village, and everything that followed unfolded. The bead that Fang Jing had was actually my birth mother's inner core. Because my mother was not only a seer, but also a cat demon, my birth mother refused to open that door. So, Fang Jing and another person forcibly extracted her inner core. I couldn't clearly see that person's face, but I suspect it was my biological father. Harry, today marks my 18th birthday. They believe that by consuming my birth mother's inner elixir today, I can swiftly become the seer they desire. So, they set this trap to lure Nico and me here. But what they don't realize is that I am more powerful than my mother, because I can see into the past, and my mother's gift of foresight isn't passed down by ingesting the elixir. Instead, I only need to lay eyes on her inner elixir after coming of age to awaken all my latent potential. Till the Nikiko sent Fang Jing flying with one slap, then came over to ask if I was okay. Blushing, I pointed at the curtain and told him to cover himself up, because he'd suddenly transformed from a child into an adult. His clothes no longer fit and had completely vanished. The handsome blonde guy we'd seen earlier at the lottery store rushed in and helped Fang Jing up from the floor. I saw his past. He's Zach, my half-brother. They're from the same mother. Having been raised by two powerful demons since childhood, he quickly grew into a formidable demon himself. Now when I look at Zach, I see his ugly soul and no longer find him attractive. Mom, what's wrong? Zach panicked as he helped Fang Jing up. Fang Jing reverted to her true appearance. The face she'd conjured earlier was merely to deceive Nico. I stared at Fang Jing in disbelief, putting on a clueless act. Are you fun? Fang Jing nearly coughed up blood, forcing a weak smile as she said, Sweetheart, come here. I'm your mother. No, that's not right. I shook my head repeatedly in regret, saying, You're not my mother. You're a monster. You can shapeshift. You're not my mother. Just then, Nico had wrapped herself in the curtains and turned to ask me, Mia, how do I look? Just a moment ago, he was calling her mom, and now he switched to Mia, men, and their words. Honestly, but now is clearly not the time to dwell on that. I shouted, Nico, get me out of here. They're monsters. Instead of rushing over like he used to, Nico WPP'd slowly to my side, glanced down at me, then turned to Zach and said, Take off that outfit. I had no idea where Nico found the nerve to speak to two powerful demons like that, but Zach complied, without hesitation. After all, even Fang Jing had been injured by Nico. He wasn't about to take any chances. If I'm not mistaken, my father should be a tiger demon. Being half fox demon and half tiger demon, Zach is more adept at using cunning schemes, whereas Nico possesses absolute power against absolute power. All tricks and conspiracies are useless. Nico changed into a new outfit, transforming into a handsome young man. He took my hand and led me step by step out of the shop. My mind was in turmoil. I desperately wanted Nico to kill Fong Jing since they were responsible for my birth mother's death. Yet, I didn't dare say it, because I foresaw that if Nico fought Fong Jing and her son, it would only end in mutual destruction. Eventually, the police would arrive and use chemical weapons to poison us all. Now that Nico has consumed my mother's inner elixir, he's become a full-fledged adult demon. However, he lacks combat experience and can't harness his demonic powers, relying solely on brute strength. And so, I became a great demon. With the power of foresight and agility, my demon core did shatter. But it remains within me. Whenever I wish, I can gather it together and disperse it again. It will. However, I plan to forever masquerade as a mere mortal, because no one knows what will happen when that door is pushed open. It's only known that only a seer can open it, but every seer who touches that door dies shortly after. I believe if I saw that door with my own eyes, I could discern its origins, but I will not go to see it, for it lies within the demon realm's gathering place. Once I go there, they'll realize I'm no longer mortal. Nico has grown up and can't go to kindergarten anymore. He said he wants to open a lottery shop so we'd never have to worry about people finding out about our ability to foresee the future. When he said we, I felt a chill run down my spine. He actually gained the power of foresight from my mother's inner elixir. Mia, he whispered close to my ear in a deep voice. I used to be naive and saw you as my mother, but you're not, now that I've grown up. So now it's your turn to be my mom. You consumed my mother's core. It's your duty to take care of me. I cut him off quickly, because I knew exactly what he was going to say. We're both yokai, blessed, with long lives and formidable power. Yet, we also need emotional release and procreation. That's why finding a mate is the first priority upon reaching adulthood. Nico wants me to be his mate in the animal kingdom. Creatures have no qualms about inbreeding, let alone when there's no blood relation between us. But I do mind, because I only see him as a son or a younger brother. I can never seem to envision Nico's future. Probably because we're too close. I doubt he can foresee much either. Though physically mature, he's only 2 years old, and emotionally still developing. But his idea of a lottery shop could genuinely be our ticket to a comfortable life in the city. I kept going to school, though I used to rely on my precognition to get by. But now that I know I'm a demon, I am studying, with genuine hunger for knowledge, because a demon, with no combat skills, has to survive in the narrow space between humans and demons, relying solely on intellect. When the weekend came, Nico pulled up to the school gate in a luxury car to pick me up. He was leaning against the car, his hair dyed golden, wearing a white shirt and black trousers, absolutely stunning. He completely captivated my aesthetic sensibilities, especially that tousled hair of his, which made me want to run my fingers through it or even smooth it down. With a lick, suppressing my inner feline instincts, I turned and headed toward the bus stop behind me. A chorus of frenzied shrieks erupted from a crowd of girls, and I vaguely spotted a few bold ones rushing toward Nico. I turned back around and walked toward the school, quickly texting Nico, I'm not going home this weekend. I'll be studying at the library instead. The best part of senior year was that if you didn't want breaks, the school wouldn't force them on you. The dorm still had hot water, and the cafeteria kept serving meals. As an adult, I naturally encounter plenty of awkward situations, too. Like, every time I get my period, there's this urge to go wild, sneak out over the school wall, dash to a club, and order 20 hot guys in one go. That kind of madness. But I know I'm human, and I gotta keep some basic decency. I read books all night long. Deep, complex ones like Olympiad math problems and physics competition questions. Soon enough, my mind became as still as water. Nico said he wasn't in a hurry, that he had patience. If I ever decided to climb over the wall, he'd be right there to catch me. He understood me. I'd seen it from classmates who scaled the wall. Nico was really out there, posted by the school wall almost every night. That spot was the go-to place for all students sneaking over the wall, with a large tree right beside it. perfect for feline-style escapes. If I were to climb over, I'd definitely scale that tree first before clearing the wall. So almost every evening, I'd end up studying at the library. Whenever I lost focus, I'd gaze at that tree and the wall in the distance. Small groups of people would hop over, and Nico would be waiting for me on the other side. Word must have gotten out about Nico waiting outside the wall, because soon enough, girls at school started climbing over, too. They all wanted to climb over to find Nico. After several consecutive nights, Nico finally vanished beyond the wall. I knew he was just like me, watching that wall from an unseen corner, quietly waiting for me to climb over. With the college entrance exams over, I could no longer avoid the inevitable. Nico had dyed his hair white and was driving a flashy gold sports car, but he was still as handsome as ever, with girls swarming around him. Yet, his gaze remained fixed on me no matter where I went. I had no choice but to swallow my pride and get in his car. He drove me to a luxurious mansion. I have no idea how he managed it. Within just a few months, he's already cycled through multiple luxury cars and moved into a villa. He claims that, with just a snap of his fingers, people line up to hand him favors. I couldn't help but rush to the restroom to gag as a vivid image flashed in my mind. Him playing the part of a gigolo in a private room, surrounded by wealthy women showering him with checks, black cards, luxury cars, and villas. I can't believe I've turned him into a gold digger. How can I ever face Mother Neo after what she entrusted me with? With a grim expression, he came up behind me and asked what was on my mind. I lowered my head, not daring to look at him. He pulled me into his embrace, resting his chin on my head as he murmured, "Stop overthinking. I just used a bit of FoxClan magic to make those people buy lottery tickets at my shop, and then forget about winning." All right, I did misunderstand the situation, but he just said he possesses the supernatural abilities of the FoxClan. Good heavens, with the brute strength of an ox demon, the seductive powers of a fox spirit, plus the agility and foresight of the cat tribe, is he trying to defy the heavens? I pushed Nico away and whispered, "Oh, I'm sorry. I can't stay with you any longer. I'm just a mortal. You should find a partner among the yokai tribes." Flames of fury blazed in his eyes. Even though he was trying hard to restrain himself, I could still feel his burning rage. He enunciated each word deliberately. "From now on, you are not allowed to call yourself Mom." But back when I was furious and told him not to call me Mom, he never listened. It's too late for him to say that now. I chuckled, slipped under his arm, and said, "Too late. Once you call me Mom, you're stuck with me for life." Then I dashed into a room at top speed and slammed the door shut. The moment I shut the door, I instantly regretted it to my surprise. The room was decorated as a bridal chamber, crimson bed sheets and duvet covers, with red double happiness characters plastered everywhere. Nico tapped gently on the door and pleaded in a soft voice, "Sweetheart, open up. You can see how sincere I am. I've even prepared our wedding suite. Won't you give me a chance?" I opened the door and checked another room only to find it identically arranged as a bridal chamber. Nico said proudly, "I decorated every room like a bridal suite." For a moment, I felt utterly shattered, with an overwhelming urge to gather my inner energy and tear all that red to shreds. But I forced myself to hold back and said to Nico, "Nico, don't be impulsive. We're not right for each other. I'm just a mortal. I would die." Nico cooped my face, gently kissed my forehead, and said, "Trust me, you won't. I can see our future together. We'll be very happy." How could he possibly see a future that even I can't perceive? Could his foresight have already surpassed mine? Impossible. I shook my head and told him, "We're both still yin, and don't know each other well yet. There's no need to rush." Nico said he's in a hurry, because if we don't make something happen soon, someone will find us. But honestly, I really don't want anything to happen between us. And who exactly would be looking for us? Just then, the villa's main door swung open, revealing 4 people. I spotted Fong Jing, Harry, and others. I wrapped my arms around Nico's neck and whispered urgently in his ear, "Don't let anyone know you're the seer." Nico held me tight, his lips meeting mine as something passed from his mouth into mine. I heard Harry's voice roar. Get your hands off my daughter. You brat. Nico released me, winked, then turned to the others, with an icy glare. Do you realize I could call the police for trespassing? Harry snapped. I'm not afraid of you calling the police. What I'm afraid of is you holding on too tight and ruining my daughter. Then Harry waved me over and said, Come here, sweetheart. Come to your dad. Harry was incredibly powerful. I still couldn't see through him completely, but I could make out his true form. A white tiger. There was no doubt we were blood relatives. I glanced at Nico, and he gave me a nod. I approached Harry, lowered my head, and timidly called out, Dad! Harry pulled me behind him, and I saw Sherry and Zach. Sherry deeply loved Zach, but he seemed hesitant, weighing his options. Zach inherited the bloodlines of both the Tiger and Fox clans, while Sherry was just an ordinary fox spirit. If Sherry had been the prophesied one, he would have married her. But since she swallowed my birth mother's inner core and failed to merge with it, Zach began to reconsider his prospects. In fact, Zach developed inappropriate feelings for me. So, he and Fong Jing brought out my birth mother's inner core, intending for me to consume it and then unite with him. Unfortunately, that inner core had already been consumed by Nico. Both Harry and Nico had powerful auras and were staring each other down. Nico suddenly laughed, calmly walked over to the sofa, crossed his legs, and said, Harry, the manager of the demon tribe, how dare you claim Mia as your daughter? You are a demon, while she is merely a mortal. Harry pulled me over, looking me up and down, with a flicker of disappointment in his eyes, followed by disgust. He walked over to the sofa and sat down, saying to Nico, Now that you know who you are, you should know what to do. Either go to the demon realm, or live as a normal human using demonic arts recklessly will throw the human world into chaos. Nico gave a faint smile and said, So what if it does? What's it to me? The Ox tribe has already been abandoned by you all. We can only become demons, not cultivate as proper demons. Fun Jing walked over, sat on Harry's lap, and said, with a smile, Since you haven't gone on a killing spree, that means we can talk. So, what do you want? Nico pointed at me and said, I want her. Fong Jing pulled Sherry in front of Nico and said, How about adding a Fox tribe princess to the mix? Nico glanced at Sherry and said, with a laugh, Is this fox edible? Sherry turned pale. Fong Jing smiled coquettishly and said, That depends on how you plan to devour me. Harry gave Fong Jing's waist a playful pinch, muttering, You little vixen, before turning to Nico, a demon, without a core, neither human nor monster. A seer even lesser spirits can't read. Are you sure you want this? Nico nodded. Harry laughed heartily and declared, Fine, since you insist, I'll grant you my daughter Mia's hand. But that core, you'll have to surrender it. I knew they were referring to my birth mother's inner core. Nico opened his mouth and spat out a blazing red pearl, identical in appearance to my birth mother's inner core. But I could see it wasn't my birth mother's. It was Maggie's inner core, containing nothing but faint traces of demonic energy. Even the Fox clan's signature abilities that should have been imbued within it had vanished. Harry tipped the inner elixir, weighed it in his hand, then placed it in Fong Jing's palm. Let's go, he said. Nico extended his hand toward Harry. Give me Mia's demon registry and marriage certificate. You're not going to back out of our deal, are you? With visible reluctance, Harry drew 2 documents from within his body and handed them to Nico. Then Harry rose and led Fong Jing toward the exit. Before leaving, he warned Nico, The demon clan isn't as reasonable as his monster folk. If you skip their gathering, you'll live to regret it. It seems I've been abandoned by my biological father once again, but somehow it feels like an improvement this time. At least he personally handed me over to Nico instead of just ditching me light before Sherry. Relieved to have survived the ordeal, let out a sigh, tightened her grip on Zach's hand, and followed closely behind Harry and Fong Jing as they left once again. Only Nico and I were left in the room, the atmosphere awkward and eerie. Nico waved the 2 papers in his hand and said to me triumphantly, Now you have to marry me whether you want to or not. Your father has already given me the marriage contract. All we need is to add a drop of our blood, and our union will be blessed by heaven and earth. Is the magic really that powerful? But, with a sudden burst of force, Nico reduced one of the papers to dust and declared boldly, "Too bad for our marriage. All I need is your consent. We don't need the approval of heaven and earth." As for the other paper, Nico glanced at it and called it a demonic tome. He explained that by adding a drop of blood to it, one could obtain a cultivation method that resonates with their own bloodline. I was still hesitating about whether to cultivate when he dripped his own blood onto it. I saw strange runes drift from the paper into his body, and then the paper turned to dust. Nico said, with a laugh, "Mortals don't need to practice demonic arts, right? Anyway, I am half demon, so it's perfect for me." I shrugged. Non come tal. That demonic tone was extracted from my biological father's body. If I were to drip my blood on it and awaken any demonic power within me, he would most likely sense it. So, I have no objections to how Nico handled it. Nico took my hand and led me step by step toward the room. His voice lowered as he said, "Your birth mother isn't dead. Using her inner core, we can sense her location." When Nico kissed me earlier, he transferred that demon core into my mouth, because he had already anticipated that Fang Jing, and the others were coming to reclaim it to prevent an actual fight. He secretly placed the demon core inside me. Through that demon core, I could sense its original owner was still alive. However, the location I sensed was behind the gate of the demon realm's gathering place. So, this was a trap, one designed to make me fulfill the prophecy by pushing open that gate. I opened my mouth, trying to spit out that demon core. Nico seemed to anticipate what I was about to do, and sealed my lips with his. Again, drawing the demon core out, he chuckled softly and whispered, "Once this demon core leaves your body, your father will sense it. Do you really want him to come back for round 2? Of course I didn't. Nico no longer felt that burning desire to become a groom. Lying quietly on the crimson bed, we began contemplating our path forward. The greatest seclusion is found in the crowd. I said, "Let's live like ordinary people." Nico took my hand and said, "All right, then let's get married and start a family like everyone else." Damn it, why is he overthinking again? I am the last Trua. Nico gained some precognitive abilities after consuming my birth mother's demon core, but he doesn't qualify as a real prophet. Once that demon core leaves his body, his precognition will vanish, while my prophetic power will be passed down through generations. But I won't reveal this secret to anyone, including Nico, because I refuse to become a breeding tool for producing heirs. Nico has developed feelings for me that he shouldn't have. He keeps talking about marriage and starting a family. The silver lining is, he says he won't pressure me and will respect my decisions. But I've become afraid of him. It's a fear of the unknown and a fear of what I already know. Because deep down I have this terrifying suspicion that someone deliberately placed him in my life through Nico. I vaguely perceive that there exists a gate in the demon clan settlement as well, one that connects the demon realm and the human world. The demon clan is also anticipating that the child between Nico and me will become the prophesied one. The more I reflect on everything that has happened, the more unsettling it becomes. Someone took advantage of Fang Jing's opportunity to resurrect the entire village and slipped Nico's mother into the mix, thereby altering Nico's fate of dying at birth. Or perhaps it was a forced integration of Nico into my world, because the demon clan also needs a prophet, one with demon blood, to open that door for them. From the moment I accepted Mother N's request to help Nico enter Maggie's body, I had already exposed my identity and fallen into the demon clan's trap. Probably, aside from those villagers, both the demon and monster clans had confirmed my identity as the prophet. The reason Harry agreed so readily to my marriage with Nico was that they needed me to bear a prophet with monster bloodline. The demon clan needs someone with demon blood to open that door, but they also need to prevent my death. Otherwise, this world will be left without a prophet. Nico seemed to know exactly what I was worried about. He vowed to protect me and promised we'd always be together. But I can't be with him, because if we were to unite, our child would become a target fought over by both the demon and devil clans. Harry will force me to pass on my precognitive abilities to my child, just like he did with my birth mother. If I refuse, he'll use our child against me, and might even try to extract my demon core. Even though I don't have a demon core, with their capabilities, they could easily refine my entire being into an elixir instead. Nico says there's always a way to work things out. It's true, every problem has a solution, and I've actually found the answer. The idea was for Nico to marry a demon and a sorceress so he could hand over the children to the demon and sorcerer clans, respectively, to fulfill his obligations. But doing so would reveal his identity as a seer. Nico was furious, declaring he wouldn't love any girl besides me. So I asked him timidly, "What about boys then? Many demons can shift between male and female forms anyway, like serpent demons and fox spirits." Nico said if I kept talking like that, he might actually force me, so I didn't dare say another word, keeping my distance obediently, while waiting for the semester to start, and head off to college. College registration lasted 2 days. I registered on the first day, planning to check out storefronts near campus, with Nico afterward to open a lottery ticket shop. To my surprise, he showed up the next day to enroll as well. I have no idea how Nikiko managed to become my classmate, even giving himself the Chinese name Yu. Is he trying to outshine the entire universe? On the first day of school, I realized the place wasn't just half rich. It was all luxury cars, with some students even arriving by helicopter. I've examined the admission letter over and over. It's just an ordinary university. The acceptance notice isn't even gilded. So why are there so many wealthy students here? It feels like some elite private academy. But the moment I glimpse certain individuals' true forms, busts, and futures, everything suddenly clicked. Seems I'm not the only one who figured out the solution. This world is full of clever operators. Both the demon and monster clans launched fierce campaigns to win me over, deploying not just every variety of handsome men, but also numerous stunning women. They had a backup plan ready. If I wasn't into handsome men, they could always send beautiful women my way as Zach showed up again in the same class, and major as me, delivering flowers to me every single day. Not only did Zach appear, but the demon tribe even sent their Prince Moog, who shares my major, and airdrops dried fish snacks to me daily. Only Nico follows me around every day, with puppy dog eyes like a little kid waiting for me to feed him. There are 4 girls in our dorm: Sophia from the demon tribe, Snow from the, an immortal named Lena. Snow is the S backup plan besides Mach, and she seems to hold a fairly high status among them. Sophia is also Harry's daughter, making her my half-sister. But I just can't bring myself to feel close to her. I actually have a better impression of Lena. Even though she's masking her aura, I can still tell she's from the cat demon tribe. These demons and monsters are wearing something that blocks my precognitive abilities, but it doesn't stop me from seeing their past and true forms. Within just a week of the semester starting, many demons were already regretting their choices and scrambling to change majors, because on a whim, I chose a major that outraged the entire demon community: clinical veterinary medicine. This program not only covers the physiological structures and characteristics of various animals, but also requires hands-on dissection. The demon tribe listened with great interest, while some members of the monster tribe grew increasingly anxious. But I think Nico had it worst. The cafeteria's daily bestseller was always some beef dish, and the lab frequently dissected cows, too. When Nico was just a baby, I only fed him vegetarian food. I'd always believed cats eat fish, dogs eat well, whatever, and cows eat grass. Even our teachers said so in class. Plus, I personally love fish and seafood, but the truth is, Nico needed meat, because he's not just a monster, he's also a demon. He said that to maintain his image in my eyes. He'd eat anything except beef. We ate together every day, and even held hands occasionally, but no one saw us as a couple. That's because Zach and Emma were also following me around from morning till night. Lena also liked to follow me, but her gaze was often fixed on Mach. It seemed she had forgotten her own mission, or perhaps this was her mission all along. Every morning, I'd be surrounded by a few people as we headed out, meeting up with Nico and others downstairs. In the evening, the three of them would escort me back to the dormitory entrance. The demons say I'm a perfect match for Mach, while the monsters insist Zack suits me better. To them, Nico is nothing but my servant. Indeed, in the eyes of both monsters and demons, Nico ranks at the very bottom, even lower than ordinary humans. The monster clans despise Oxkind, viewing them as inferior and forbidding them from cultivating the monster path. The demons don't reject Oxfolk from joining their ranks, but they place great importance on bloodline purity. As a half-monster, half-demon hybrid, Nico occupies the lowest rung in demon society. As for me, even though my monster core was destroyed and my cultivation shattered, I'm still Harry's daughter, the little princess of the monster clans. I absolutely hate when they call me Princess Mia. It makes me picture Harry scattering his seed around like a human sewing machine. Sometimes during meals, Zack would deliberately eat beef in front of Nico, while making critical comments about it. Both Nico and I found him utterly insufferable. Mach often says he has no manners either. Though Mach looked down on Nico, he never showed it openly. Just by standing there, his natural elegance and aristocratic bearing made Nikiko seem completely outclassed. Nico always worries that I might like Mach more. He says he feels a bit inferior around Mach, but he still wants to be with me. That day in anatomy class, the subject for dissection was a cat which was supposed to be already deceased. However, someone with ill intentions had arranged for a live cat that had been anesthetized. I was already extremely upset about having to dissect a cat, and to make matters worse, Zack went out of his way to place it on my table. The cat's body was still rising and falling, clearly alive. My eyes blazed with fury because the one who set this up was Sherry, and this cat was my half-brother. Lena vomited on the spot. I gently placed both hands on the cat, leaned close to its ear, and whispered, "Go find the one who captured you. Ruin her face. You will succeed." This is my first time using the Seer's ability. It's a simple prophecy that won't cost me anything. The cat suddenly perked up, flipped off the lab table, bounded across the room in a few leaps, and jumped out through the windowsill. By the time everyone realized what was happening, the cat had already bolted outside. Several people gave chase, and Nico ran out after them. Standing by the window, I watched the cat dart into a nearby tree and path, scrabble up a tree, leap onto Sherry's face, and start scratching her face wildly. By the time she realized what was happening and thought to use her demonic arts, the cat had already scampered off into the distance. Demons can't use their powers in front of humans, and a university campus is such a crowded place, with too many prying eyes. Sure had no choice but to swallow her anger and let it go. I just hope she doesn't cause any more trouble, or I'm afraid I won't be able to stop myself from finishing her off. I turned around and helped Lena sit down properly on the stool. The moment I touched her skin, I saw a truth I never wanted to face in my lifetime. Lena and that cat from earlier share the same mother with me, but have different fathers. Their father is the cat demon king, while mine is the tiger demon king Harry. After my biological mother became pregnant, the demonic energy within her couldn't sustain 3 children to full human form. She first sacrificed the male fetus, as the success rate of raising a male prophet was extremely low. So at 3 months pregnant, she abandoned the first boy, turning him into a cat. By the 7th month, she had no choice but to give up Lena, who had just begun to take human form. The cat demon king took Lena back and raised her with meticulous care. As for me, blessed with the bloodline of the Tiger King, I was uniquely favored. Not only did Harry take her to the most demonically rich place to recuperate, but I also nourished her in return. That's why I was born after 10 months, already possessing an innate demon core, perhaps to prevent Harry from using me, or maybe to make me relive her tragic fate. She shattered my inner core and deceived them into believing I was just an ordinary human. But did Harry really buy that story? So he extracted her inner core, intending for me to consume it. But my body was no different from a mortal's, utterly incapable of withstanding the core of a fully grown demon. Then he had no choice but to have others attempt to merge with the core, while devising a way to turn me into a seer. I don't want to reach out to Lena again. I'm afraid of seeing those painful memories from the past or future. I started packing my textbooks, ready to leave. It looks like today's anatomy class isn't happening. But Nico and a few other guys ran out after her and haven't returned. I'm not sure if I should wait for him to come back so we can leave together. Mach and Zach eagerly stood by my side, wanting to walk out with me. I think Mach is quite decent, easy on the eyes, with a pleasant personality. Had Nico never appeared, I wouldn't have known that children of demon and monster clans are considered the lowest class. I suppose I would have chosen Mooch. He carries no airs about him, giving off this intriguing mix of righteousness and mischief that feels surprisingly refreshing. Of course, plenty of girls at school have crushes on him, but he's made it clear his sole purpose here is to be with the prophet, so whether I'm present or not, he never bothers hiding his intentions. He said if I were willing to be with him, he would only have eyes for me as long as I lived. But I would never choose him, because I couldn't let my child be born like Nico, the lowest existence among the demon tribe, forced to open that gate for those who think they're superior. Zach has always disgusted me from the very beginning. No matter how good-looking he appears, he's just as promiscuous and unfaithful as Harry. During the day, he'd shower me with attention on Fong Jing's orders, then go out with different women at night, all while boasting about his charm. Over time, sensible girls kept their distance. Only a naive fox spirit like Sherry would still follow him around. I was just about to leave the lab, surrounded by Amoko and my roommates, when Nico came back. He was holding an unconscious fox and naively asked the professor, "Since there's no cat, can we dissect this fox instead?" Sophia and Zach's faces instantly turned pale. The fox had injuries on its face. It was unmistakably Sherry. The demons all laughed, and I joined in some. Students who didn't understand the situation exclaimed that dissecting a live animal was too cruel. The professor was so furious, he was practically foaming at the mouth, scolding Nico for his recklessness. "This is a living fox," he said, "and it's only unconscious. How could you even think of dissecting it alive?" Emo saw it was on my mind. He sliced off Sher's tail with a knife, presented it to me, and said, with a grin, "Mia, this tail would complement your skin tone perfectly. It would make a lovely fur collar." I said, I happen to need a furry foot warmer, and accepted it, but in my mind, I thought it would be even better if it were Fun Jing's tail. Nico had no choice but to let Sherry go, regretting not having chopped off her tail right away. Because of this, his classmates gave Nico the nickname Big Dummy, saying, "You was all looks and no brains," and they had no idea how he ever got into college. While Mach gained a fierce reputation among the boys, the girls found his demeanor both manly and cool, wishing they could be the object of his affection. As for that creep, Zach, after Nico kept staring at him with longing eyes, hoping to get another unique tale, he finally stopped hanging around me. And Nico, as for me, I became the one despised by both humans and demons at school. In the end, only Emo and Nico stayed by my side, but I didn't want to choose either of them. I hung Sherry's tail at the foot of my bed to warm my feet on cold days, which made Sophia see. With rage, she finally couldn't hold back anymore, and started hurling insults at me. Snow said my orientation is normal, and she's giving up on pursuing me. Before leaving, she gave me a tip-off. Watch out for Sophia, because Sophia knows that seers can't foresee their own future. She secretly gathered a few minor demons to deal with me, and I gave Snow a piece of advice in return. Stay away from demon-gathering places, and live as an ordinary human. She walked away lost in thought. One evening, as I had just returned to the dormitory building from the library, and was saying goodbye to Mokaniko, Lena appeared. She took my hand, and said that Sophia had brought a few demons specialized in dealing with the cat tribe to the dorm, and that she would take me to a safe place. Without another word, she grabbed my hand, and we started running. I can't stand her touch now, especially after realizing where she was trying to drag me, and why. I'm utterly disappointed in her, and in the entire cat demon clan. She led me down the stairwell, and I had no idea there was a basement beneath the girls' dormitory. It turned out to be a secret passage exclusive to the cat demon clan. Lena ended up taking me to see that man, The cat demon king. Just being near him made me feel suffocated and sick to my stomach. He's a high-ranking demon of the feline race, second only to the tiger king, and the great love of my birth mother's life. Yet to open that door, he still took Harry's advice and sacrificed my birth mother. Mia, he said gently, though you are not my daughter, you still carry half the bloodline of my cat tribe. As an elder, I wish to ask you to appoint your half-sister Lena as the prophet. I shook my head and told him firmly that it was impossible. The cat demon king remained cordial and said sincerely, we cats have 9 lives. Appointing a prophet would only cost you 1 life. You'd still have 8 left. Even if you've been reborn once, you'd still have 7. From then on, she could bear all the karmic consequences of being a prophet for you. Is that even possible? If the demon clans discover I can appoint multiple seers at the cost of just 1 life, and I won't die since cats have 9 lives, they'd imprison the feline tribe, and me, endlessly producing seers. They might even ally with the demonic forces to open that gate. This would bring nothing but misfortune to the feline tribe, and me. Otherwise, why would my birth mother rather shatter my core than pass the Seer's legacy to me directly? I calmly explained to the cat demon king that, with only half feline bloodline, I possess just 1 life like any ordinary demon. Thus, I cannot bestow the title of Lena upon her. Moreover, I can only grant her the role of seer, endowing her with the ability to foresee the future, not that of a prophet. I won't reveal to him that the prophet title can only be inherited when the demon's body hasn't reached maturity, and even then, it requires years of close companionship and deep mutual understanding to be passed down. The cat demon king clearly didn't believe me. I couldn't help but laugh. I've said all there is to say. Whether he accepts it is up to him. I turned to leave, but the cat demon king blocked my path, saying, no matter what, since you're here today, you can't leave empty-handed. Even if you're just a seer, that's fine, as long as you can foresee the future. Because in the demon world, anyone who can foresee the future is considered a prophet. I stared coldly at the cat demon king and said, word by word, don't push me. The cat demon king laughed up as if he'd heard the joke of the century. A lowly demon with a shattered core. So what if you can see the future? Do you even know your own fate? A faint smile touched my lips as I said calmly, I may not know my own future, but I intend to decide yours. It's a simple life for a life. My single existence in exchange for the entire cat demon clan. Do you dare accept? The cat demon king seemed to recall something and took several steps back. What do you mean? He asked. I swore to the heavens, if the cat demon clan dares to reveal any secrets that would harm me, I vow to trade my 1 life for the lives of their entire race. A bolt of thunder flashed across the sky, sealing the oath. I said to the cat demon king, with a smile, half of what I told you tonight was true, half was false, but that oath is absolutely binding. Don't believe me? Give it a try. This is the difference between a prophet and a seer. A seer senses the future. A prophet writes it. After a pause, I finally said, out of respect for the half-cat demon blood running through my veins, I've already shown leniency. From now on, you'd better watch your step. A deep fear and unease flashed in the cat demon king's eyes. I am not my birth mother. My feelings for the cat demon tribe aren't particularly strong. I simply have no wish to spill unnecessary blood. I turned and left the cat demon clan's gathering place. The cat demon king slumped back onto his throne, making no move to stop me. Lena caught up with me, grabbed my hand, and pleaded pitifully, Mia, please, I love Mach. If I had the power to foresee the future, I could marry her. Please appoint me as a seer. I won't betray you. I sighed and said, as you wish. Her birth mother refused to grant her the power of foresight to protect her since she wants it so badly. Why not give it to her when we got back to the dorm that night? Sophia had gathered a few minor demons to come after me, but Lena went absolutely beast mode and wiped the floor with them. Sophia ran off screaming. She'd already figured out that I'd passed my future seeing ability to Lena. The next day, nearly every demon in Monster Clan had caught wind of the news. Moksha sought me out and asked me why. He said if he had to marry a demon, he'd rather it be me. I laughed. I'd already seen his future. He'd inevitably end up with Lena for the sake of the Demon Clan's mission. Maybe he'll miss me someday. Maybe he'll regret it. But that's none of my concern. I foresaw Lena's fate long ago. She'll be imprisoned by the demons, just like our birth mother. And her child, with Mach, will become the lowest rank of demon, dying repeatedly by that gate. She brought that upon herself. Nico stayed by my side and asked if I'd spend my remaining days with him. I smiled, took his hand, and told him I'd be delighted to. Harry showed up, with a whole crew, saying he'd take me to the yokai settlement. I know I'll be seeing that door soon enough. I'm dying to find out what secrets that door holds, what lies behind it. But I told Harry that Nico and I aren't married yet. Before I die, I hope to spend a few days with Nico like a real couple, and then go open that door Harry had waited all these years. So a few more days didn't matter to him. Besides, he found me much more sensible than my birth mother. Nico and I returned to that villa, lying in the red wedding chamber where we finally did everything we'd wanted to do before, but never had the chance. 3 days later, Nico and I took the initiative to seek out Harry. I was already so weak, I couldn't even walk, and had to let Nico carry me. I begged Harry, for the sake of our father-daughter bond, to let Nico carry me over to that door. Harry agreed there in the demon realm's gathering place. I finally laid eyes on that door and witnessed its history many years ago. The celestial race created this door to more easily govern both the demon race and humanity. Later, the celestials departed from this realm due to scarce resources, while the demonic tribes exploited the portal to wreak havoc upon humanity. The first oracle discovered the gateway's existence and sealed it shut. Demons stranded in the human realm, cut off from their source of power, were forced to gather near the sealed portal. Thus, they struck a pact with the humans of that era. The oracle would open the gateway when needed, allowing the demonic tribes to serve humanity's purposes, provided they refrained from unleashing chaos in the human realm during the portal's activation. Humans would supply the demons with blood sacrifices, livestock like pigs, cattle, sheep, and sometimes even humans. As the demon tribes grew increasingly voracious, later prophets refused to open the gate any further. They abandoned their alliance with the demon tribes and turned to the devil clans instead, for the celestial beings had also constructed a gate to subjugate the devil clans. Humanity eventually realized that in every conflict, whether involving demon tribes or devil clans, their ambitions and appetites knew no bounds. To their eyes, all humans were mere cattle for slaughter. Thus, the human race decided to seal these two gates forever. The cunning demon tribe then devised a plan to cultivate prophets from among their own kind. Naturally, they had the same idea. They began relentlessly studying the conditions and principles behind a prophet's emergence, believing that the ability to foresee the future alone would make one a prophet. Later, they discovered that even those demons who could predict the future would perish upon touching this gate. So, they sent my birth mother to live among humans, where she was raised alongside human girls from childhood. The prophet at the time had no descendants, and through their daily interactions, developed a deep bond with my birth mother. Despite knowing the prophetic lineage couldn't be passed to demons, the prophet still entrusted the secrets to her. After my birth, mother obtained the prophet's secrets. The cat demon king brought her back to the demon realm. My birth mother fell in love with the cat demon king and was willing to bear his children, but she refused to disclose the prophet's secrets. So, the cat demon king took Harry's advice and had my birth mother bear me for the tiger demon clan out of vengeance against the two great demon kings. And to protect those two children, my birth mother didn't pass on the Circe identity to anyone. Instead, she shattered my inner core. She refused to reveal the seer's secret, but she knew the demon race was hellbent on obtaining it. They would raise me beside a seer just as they had with her, to mold me into a seer myself to be safe. She left a prophecy: demons cannot fuse with her inner core, and her daughter, with the tiger demon king, would learn all the seer's secrets upon seeing it. Even if I hadn't been a prophet, one glance after coming of age would have made me one. She set a trap for me. forcing me to relive the pain she once endured, all to get back at Harry. Unfortunately, she overestimated Harry's feelings for her. The truth is, Harry is nothing but an emotionless breeding machine who never showed an ounce of fatherly love toward me, and she underestimated my abilities. After all those years I spent buried in books at the library weren't for nothing. So, I've decided to walk the same path as my birth mother, but I won't be foolish like her and abandon my inner core. And child, I'll leave her suffering for her beloved Lena. Nico held me as we slowly approached the door. Harry shouted from afar, "Don't get too close. The demonic aura is too intense. You won't be able to withstand it." I weakly said to Harry, "If I stay this far away, how am I supposed to touch the door?" We were getting closer to that door, and just as my hand was about to touch it, I pulled back. "Open it now," Harry shouted, his voice a mix of excitement and tension. Nico suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood and said, "Step back." When the overwhelming demonic energy erupts, you won't be able to withstand it. Harry led the large group of demons and retreated several miles away. I gave Nico a nod, fainted, reaching out, but instead of touching the door, I commanded, "Open." The door swung wide, unleashing a torrent of demonic energy. Nico scooped me up and dashed inside at full speed. The moment we crossed the threshold, I glanced back at Harry and the others, a triumphant smirk playing on my lips as I whispered close. The door slowly closed, and I saw Harry and the others looking absolutely furious. I jumped off Nico's back, feeling the immense power from the surging demonic energy. Unprecedented and overwhelming. Nico held me tightly and exclaimed excitedly, "We did it! We actually did it! Yes, we succeeded just like my birth mother did all those years ago." After she refused to open the door, Harry and Fong Jing forcibly extracted her inner core and dumped her body outside this very door. She wasn't actually dead. She had just reverted to her true form and was playing possum after everyone had left. She opened the door, slipped through it, and closed it behind her, because even without her inner core, she remained to see her for 7 days. So all she needed was to enter that door within that time frame. But a cat has 9 lives, and the price she paid was merely one of them. "You little brat, give me back my inner core." A calico cat stood before us, glaring at us furiously. This calico cat was my birth mother. Nico tried to spit out the inner core, but I struck him hard in the chest, shattering the core completely, so it could never be retrieved. Immortals can't fuse with her inner core, but demons can. Nico stared at me in disbelief, completely baffled by my actions. I looked at the calico cat before me and said, with a laugh, "You shattered my inner core back then, and now I've shattered yours. We're even." Did she really think I'd just hand over my inner core and lose centuries of cultivation? Not a chance. She snarled viciously, truly the daughter of the Tiger Demon King. Ruthless and cruel. "Now that you're the last prophet, do you really think they'll let you live?" I blinked and said, with a smile, "Why don't you experience firsthand the prophecy I've cast upon your cat clan?" The calico cat shrieked, "Even if I can't touch you, what about that demon boy beside you? Just you wait. I won't let either of you get away with this." Of course, I wasn't afraid of her revenge, but she's got a long way to go before she can cultivate another demon core. I have more important things to do, like quickly adapting to life in this world. With Nico, I placed my hand on Nico's chest and asked, "Does it still hurt?" He gave a sheepish grin and said, "Not anymore. I was going to give you my demon core so you could become a powerful demon right away. But now I can't get it out." I hopped onto his back and said, with a laugh, "I don't need to be a powerful demon. Having you to protect me is enough. Let our journey to the spirit realm begin."